Sandeep is a volunteer working with Can Kids Association. Can Kids Kids Can, that is the organization's name. And it is filled with people who have had the disease experience and who are working with other children who are also going through the disease experience. So no one can be a bigger expert than him on this topic of the day. So that's why I invited Sandeep Yadav, and big welcome to you, and please go ahead.
शुक्रिया मैम। सारी चीज़ें ठीक ठाक चल रही थी। जैसे एक सामान्य परिवार में होता है कि हर कोई लोग अपनी ज़िंदगी जीते हैं, स्कूल जाते हैं और तो दोस्तों के साथ घूमते हैं, तो मौज मस्ती जाकर के करते हैं। सारी चीज़ें हमारे भी जीवन में तो चल रही थी कि बात है सन 2007 की। सन 2007 में मेरे हाथों में, तो दाहिने हाथों में तो अचानक दर्द हो गया चालू। अब दर्द के पहले की स्थिति जो थी वह कुछ ऐसी थी कि मैं बचपन से बहुत ज़्यादा तो बदमाश था। बदमाश बोलेंगे तो शरारती बहुत था। तो जब भी जाता था तो स्कूलों में तो हमेशा झगड़ा करता था, तो मारपीट करता था लोगों के साथ। और फिर घर पे आता था तो फिर मम्मी के हाथों से खूब पिटाई होती थी मेरी। तो बहुत समय की ऐसी बात है कि मार करते करते शायद चोट लग गई रही होगी, और फिर मम्मी के हाथों मार खाने से हमको बचना है, इसीलिए घर नहीं बताया होगा। इस वजह से वो शायद कुछ ऐसा हुआ होगा, या फिर मतलब अल्टरनेट डेज पर तो जरूर पिटाई मेरी होती थी। तो ये कुछ हमारी स्थिति था पहले का। तो उम्र कुछ उस समय 12 साल थी जब हाथ में तो दर्द चालू हुआ। और दर्द जो चालू हुआ तो 15 दिन तक तो मैं किसी को बताया भी नहीं। वो दर्द चलता रहा, मैं ठीक है जलता गया। लेकिन जब दर्द बहुत बढ़ने लगा और रात को नींद नहीं होती थी, आती नहीं थी, तो अचानक हमको बताना पड़ा। मम्मी को मैंने बोला कि हाथ में हमारे दर्द हो रहा है। तो मम्मी हाथ देखी और फिर उसके बाद 2-3 अच्छे ढंग से जड़ी, और फिर बाद में तो हल्दी प्याज वगैरह लेकर के आई और तो लगाई, उसको बांधी। लेकिन फिर भी उससे भी कुछ फायदा नहीं हुआ। सूजन बढ़ता चला जा रहा था और दर्द बढ़ता उसके साथ साथ चला जा रहा था। फिर गांव के तो बगल में तो लोकल डॉक्टर के पास गए, उनके पास दिखाए। वो भी मरहम पट्टी वगैरह जो भी चीज़ें था सारी चीज़ें किए, और उनके पास 15-20 दिन 1 महीने तक जाते रहे, और तो इंजेक्शन हुआ पूरा हाई देते रहे, और कुछ फर्क उस बात से तो नहीं पड़ा। उसके बाद डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पर हम लोग गए। वहाँ पर डॉक्टर ने लिखा एक्सरे हुआ, और डॉक्टर कुछ समझे नहीं, और वो भी दवा वगैरह दे दिए और बोल दिए आ जाओ जाकर के 2 सप्ताह बाद। दवा हमारा उसके दौरान चलता रहा। 2 सप्ताह बाद फिर गए, कुछ भी दर्द में तो फर्क नहीं। जब तक गोली खाता था तब तक दर्द हमारा बंद रहता था। फिर उसके बाद दूसरे डिस्ट्रिक्ट पर गए। फिर उसके बाद इस तरह से करते करते 3-4 महीने का समय मेरा घूमते बीत गया। और तो फाइनली गोरखपुर जब हम गए, तो गोरखपुर में एक हॉस्पिटल है, कैंसर हॉस्पिटल है चतुर्वेदी करके। वहाँ पर डॉक्टर देखे और डॉक्टर बताए कि तो बायोप्सी इसका तो करना पड़ेगा। बायोप्सी होने से पहले सीटी स्कैन वगैरह, एक्सरा वगैरह उन्होंने तो फिर से कराया, और बायोप्सी हुआ। बायोप्सी होने के बाद में 2 दिन बाद डॉक्टर हमको उधर तो बुलाए थे बताने के लिए। तो हम और तो पिताजी दोनों लोग गए साथ में। तो डॉक्टर हमको बाहर कर दिए और पापा जी से कुछ बात करने लगे। अब अंदर पता नहीं बात हुई तो क्या, लेकिन पापा जब भी बाहर निकले तो आंखें उनकी नम थी। ऐसा लग रहा था कि वो तो रोए हुए हैं। मैं फिलहाल कुछ उनसे तो पूछा नहीं, लेकिन घर आकर के वो फिर हमको बोले कि अभी हम लोग को चलना पड़ेगा तो मुंबई जाना है। नाम सुनकर के बहुत ज़्यादा खुश था मैं। इसलिए खुश था कि मूवियों में देखता था हीरो हीरोइन सब कोई मुंबई में होते हैं, तो उस बात की बहुत खुशी थी। चलेंगे तो हो सकता है तो मुलाकात हो किसी से। और दुख इस बात का था कि कि तो पापा जी तो रो रहे थे, और हमारे साथ हुआ है क्या अभी तक कुछ भी जानकारी नहीं। हम लोग मुंबई आए तो जैसे तैसे 2007 में, और तो 4 मार्च को हम लोग मुंबई में तो आ चुके थे। होली का तो दिन था, रंग से मुंबई पूरी हरी भरी थी, और हम उस दिन तो बंद था सारी चीज़ें। 5 तारीख को अंकल जी के पास आए हम लोग, तो अंकल जी फैमिली डॉक्टर के पास ये तो लेकर के गए, और वो गोरखपुर का रिपोर्ट्स वगैरह सब लेकर के हम लोग आए थे। तो उनके फैमिली डॉक्टर देखे और फिर बताया कि आप इनको लेकर के जाइए, तो टाटा चाहिए। अब हम लोग जो है टाटा भी आए, और टाटा में आए, मेरा रजिस्ट्रेशन हुआ। रजिस्ट्रेशन होने के बाद में और तो ओपीडी भीड़ जाकर के जिधर सीट मिलती थी नीचे, जिधर हम तो बैठा करता था। अभी तक भी कुछ हमको जानकारी नहीं था, और जांच वगैरह हमारा सब चालू हो गया, सीबीसी हो गया, पीटी स्कैन, एमआरआई, सीटी स्कैन, और जो भी बायोप्सी वगैरह फिर से हुआ। इधर सारी चीज़ें 20-21 दिन का तो गया समय। फाइनली डॉक्टर डिसीजन लिए कि इसको तो कीमोथेरेपी देना है। कीमोथेरेपी दे करके गांठ को छोटा करना। गांठ इतना पता था बीमारी का तो नाम गांठ है, क्योंकि तो पापा बोलते थे तो ट्यूमर हुआ है। अच्छा, ट्यूमर हुआ है और गांठ, ये भी मुझे नहीं पता था कि ट्यूमर मीन्स गांठ होता है, या ये तो बीमारी का नाम है। तो एक दिन की बात है, एक जन बैठे थे तो ओपीडी के सामने, और वो बाबा रामदेव का वो तो एक्सरसाइज होता है, वो क्या नाम है उसका, तो कपाल भात, पेट अंदर बाहर। तो वो मैं उनके बगल में तो खड़ा था, और मैं उनको देख रहा था काफी समय से, और फिर अंदर बाहर ऐसे ऐसे 10 मिनट तक मैं उनको देखा। हाथ उनका निकला था, वो भी ओपीडी के लिए तो बैठे थे, लेकिन ऐसे ऐसे कर रहे थे। मैं देख करके हैरान हो गया। फिर फाइनली मैंने उनसे पूछा कि ऐसा आप क्यों कर रहे हैं। वो हमको नीचे से ऊपर तक देखे, बाद में फिर वो करने लगे, और फिर थोड़े समय बाद रुके और बोले कि तू भी कर, और ऐसा करने से तो कैंसर ठीक हो जाता है। मैं रुका 2 मिनट, और फिर उसके बाद हंसने लगा। बोला ठीक है, चलो, तो जिसको हुआ है कैंसर उसका ठीक होएगा। वो फिर हमको देखने लगे, फिर ऊपर से नीचे बोल रहे हैं वो हमको, तो तू किस लिए इधर आया। मैं बोला डॉक्टर से मिलने के लिए ओपीडी में। इधर जो आते हैं सबको कैंसर ही हुआ होता है। अब कैंसर से होता क्या है, कैंसर है क्या, ये भी हमको नहीं पता था। शाम को घर पर गए तो पापा जी से हम तो पूछे कि पापा कैंसर हुआ है मुझे। बोले नहीं बेटा, कैंसर नहीं हुआ, एक छोटा सा उसका तो अंश है, तो ट्यूमर हुआ। ठीक, इस तरह से कुछ स्टार्टिंग समय पर थी कि हमको बीमारी के बारे में जानकारी नहीं था, और क्या हुआ है, क्या हमारे साथ हो रहा है उसके बारे में जानकारी नहीं था। उम्र कुछ उस समय तो 12.5 साल हो चुकी थी। और फिर उसके बाद जब भी डॉक्टर के पास जाता था तो डॉक्टर समय नहीं देते थे ज़्यादा, वो बस फटाफट फाइल में तो वो तो लिखते थे ये जांच इतने तारीख को आ जाओ फिर से तो दिखाने के लिए। बस इतनी बात होती थी। दर्द हो रहा है, अब खांसी आ रहा है, तो बुखार आ रहा है, ये जाकर के गोली लो, और तो सुबह शाम खाना इस तरह से। इसके अलावा और कोई दूसरी चीज़ नहीं हो पाती थी बातें, या फिर वो सुनी अच्छे ढंग से। और कीमोथेरेपी के लिए जब गया मैं 28 मार्च 2007 को, और उस समय कीमोथेरेपी लगा। पहला कीमोथेरेपी लगा, उसके बाद में मेरी दुनिया पूरी की पूरी बदल चुकी थी। कीमोथेरेपी लगने से पहले मैम इंजेक्शन लगाने वाली जो बात होती है, आज विकास जी से बात हुई सुबह में, वो भी हमको बता रहे थे। इंजेक्शन लगाने वाली बात पे ऐसा था कि खून का जांच भी अगर उनको हमारा करना है तो उसके लिए निकालते हैं ब्लड सैंपल, लेकिन 5 से 6 बार इंजेक्शन जब तक लगाएंगे नहीं तब तक उनको तो वेन नहीं मिलती थी, नस नहीं मिलती थी। इतनी बुरी हाल, उस समय मतलब रोना आता था, चिल्लाते थे, लेकिन फिर भी अंततः वो कराना जरूरी था। एक चीज़ ये है कि नहीं जानकारी है तो हमें कम से कम तो सीनियर को तो बुलाना चाहिए कि उसको दर्द दे, बार बार दे। हालांकि वो चीज़ें हमारे ऊपर चल रही थी, उस चीज़ को अच्छे ढंग से वो समझ नहीं हम सकते हैं जब तक उनको ना वो चीज़ लगाई जाए और तो चुभाई जाए। वो सबसे मतलब स्थिति बदली सी थी। जब ये कीमो लग गया फिर दुनिया बदली, इस तरह से बाल वगैरह हाथ में आने लगे, और चक्कर आने लगा, उल्टी होने लगी, मुंह में छाले आने लगे, नींद चैन सब कुछ गायब हो गया। और फिर उसके बाद में चल नहीं पाता था मैं तो सही से, थोड़ा चलता था गिर जाता था, थोड़ा चलता था गिर जाता था। उसके बाद डाइट वगैरह के ऊपर दिया गया ध्यान। लोग बोले, डॉक्टर बोले, तो डाइटिशियन बोले कि ऐसा ऐसा खाना, ये चीज़ें करना, वो बोलते गए। लेकिन अब खाना क्या है वो चीज़ें मेरे ऊपर थी, और किसी तरह से ज़बरदस्ती गाली सुन करके और तो मारने वाली डर से किसी तरह खाता गया। और फिर एक कीमोथेरेपी, 2, 3, 4 इस तरह से करके 6 हमको टोटल कीमो लगा। और उसके बाद 1 अगस्त 2007 को फाइनली मेरा ऑपरेशन हुआ, टाटा मेमोरियल हॉस्पिटल में ऑपरेशन हुआ। और हाँ, गोरखपुर वाली बात पर एक चीज़ मेरे ध्यान से उतर गई थी, मैं बोलना चाहूँगा। बाद में हमको जानकारी हुआ, जब हम पापा जी के साथ बातचीत हुआ, बाद में तो पूछा कि क्यों रो रहे थे आप, तो बताए कि वहाँ का डॉक्टर बोला था कि एंटीबायोटिक करने के बाद रिपोर्ट आया कि इसको हो गया कैंसर, और इसका हाथ इधर से तो काट करके निकालना पड़ेगा और 1.5 लाख रुपए लगेंगे। इस बात पर पापा रो रहे थे, और जो मुझे तब तक नहीं जानकारी था जब तक मेरा सर्जरी का तो टाइम आ गया। ड्यूरिंग कीमोथेरेपी पापा जाते थे तो टॉयलेट्स वगैरह में, और फिर अच्छे ढंग से रो करके आते थे। आंखें उनकी लाल लाल दिखती थी, लेकिन मैं भी कुछ नहीं उनसे पाता था। लेकिन जब भी सर्जरी हो गया, सर्जरी के टाइम जाने से पहले डॉक्टर लिखवा लेते, भाई तेरी जिंदगी का कोई ठिकाना नहीं है, तू सही से आए, मतलब रिटर्न आएगा नहीं आएगा, क्या है क्या नहीं। हमने भी उसके ऊपर तो साइन क्या बोले कर दिया था, पापा भी और एक वो भी विटनेस के रूप में हो गया। बोले कि शायद हम लोग हाथ बचाने का तो कोशिश करेंगे, और अगर स्थिति बिगड़ी हुई हो तो फिर हाथ भी निकाल सकते हैं। वहाँ पर डिसीजन लिया गया कि जिंदगी अगर बच रही हाथ निकालने से तो वो भी ठीक है। और फाइनली गए 9:35 का समय था, 1 अगस्त 2007 को, जब मुझको स्ट्रेचर से तो उठा करके ऑपरेशन थिएटर का जो होता है उसके ऊपर रख के, मूवी वाली हाल जो होती है देखते हैं हम लोग सर्जरी में, लाइटें वगैरह उस तरह से था पूरा। और देखे हम, और फिर हाथ वगैरह हम तो बांधने लगे, लेकिन चेहरे पर हमारे स्माइल की खुशी थी मैम। तो फिर डॉक्टर हमसे पूछे कि तुझको ऑपरेशन से तो डर नहीं लगता है? मैं बोला नहीं सर। तो बोले क्यों? मैं बोला आप है ना सर। बोले बहुत बात करता है, सो जा। तो वो फिर कुछ लगाए, बोले सांस लो। तो 1, 2 तीसरी बार सांस लिया, और फिर 9:35 के बाद 4:30 बजे नींद खुली। आईसीयू में था उस समय, तो उंगली हिलाया सबसे पहले कि उंगली हिल रही कि नहीं। तो उंगली हिली तो समझ में आया हाथ बच गया है, फिर सो गया। और फिर सो गया। लेकिन अब आईसीयू के बाद हमको तो वार्ड में भेज दिए, और वार्ड में भेजने के बाद में डॉक्टर शाम को आ गए अगले दिन। और शाम को जब आ गए अगले दिन, तो उसके बाद हाथ ऐसे हमारा खींचे और ऐसे करने लगे, और पूरा जोर से, अभी हंसी आ रही है बोलने में, दूसरे में रोने लगा बहुत जोर से, तो चिल्ला रहे, अरे अभी कल ही सर्जरी किया और आ करके पूरा जबरदस्ती कर रहे हैं। तो हुआ, मतलब वो शायद मतलब चेक कर रहे थे फिटिंग वगैरह बराबर हुआ कि नहीं, क्या वो बाद में समझ में। तो फिर उसके बाद एक्सरसाइज चालू हुआ, तो फिजियोथेरेपिस्ट लोग आए, और फिर उस तरह से चीज़ें चालू हुआ। लेकिन बाद में जब भी 8 दिन बाद डिस्चार्ज हुआ गया, मैं एट्रिक में मैं रहता था, तो 14 कीमोथेरेपी जो हमारा प्रोडक्ट था, तो खाएगर में सेंटर दूसरा है, तो उधर मैं था। तो पता है ऐसा हुआ कि हड्डी बोन चेंज हुआ, तो हाथ मेरा ऐसे हो गया, पट्टा लगा था इधर, और हाथ ऐसे हो गया पूरा। और ये उंगलियां भी ऐसे, अब उठता नहीं था, बिल्कुल नहीं, ऐसे हो गया पूरा। अभी ये क्यों नहीं उठ रहा है, मेरा अगला तो सवाल डॉक्टर से था। तो डॉक्टर बोले कि तेरा हाथ बचाने के चक्कर में बहुत सारी जो नर्स थी वो सब हम लोग निकाल दी, इसीलिए तेरा हाथ अभी उठ नहीं रहा है, लेकिन अगर तू तो मेहनत करेगा तो हो सकता है, ऐसा बोले डॉक्टर। तो ठीक है, उसके बाद कंटिन्यूस 6 महीने का समय लगा उंगलियां सिर्फ हिलाने में, ऐसे ऐसे हिलाने में, ऐसे ऐसे हिलाने में। मतलब पसीने छूट जाते थे तो रोना आता था, लेकिन उंगलियां हिलती नहीं थी क्योंकि वेन था ही नहीं। वो फिर हुआ चीजें और लिखना गायब हो चुका था। 7वीं में मैं उस समय गांव में तो पढ़ रहा था और 7वीं के बाद में अब पढ़ा लिखा बनता हूँ, इसलिए हस्ताक्षर करने की बात आती थी। मैं तो फिर बाएं हाथ से मैं तो साइन कर देता था, लिखना इसके हाथ से सीख लिया संदीप सिर्फ, लेकिन इस हाथ से लिखना था क्योंकि आगे के लिए फिर जा करके और तो पढ़ाई वगैरह हमको मतलब शुरू करना था। फिर उसके बाद लिखना चालू किया, धीरे 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 बड़ा अच्छा, फिर करते करते 8 महीने का तो समय गया और फिर से लिखना वापस आने। जब भी ओपीडी में जाता था तो एक पेज लिख करके नकल ले जा करके डॉक्टर को दिखाता था, देखिए अभी इतना सुधार आया, अभी इतना सुधार आया, और डॉक्टर उसको हमें साथ चेक करते थे और हमें साथ तो मोटिवेट करते थे। चीज़ रहा उनका बहुत ज़्यादा उनको सपोर्ट रहा। और फिर इस तरह से आगे का तो 8 केमोथेरेपी हो गया तो कंप्लीट, और मार्च 2008 में फाइनली तो ट्रीटमेंट कंप्लीट हो गया। 1 साल 2 दिन मैं पूरा हॉस्पिटल में था। 8 मार्च 2008 को मैं उनके घर पर अपने गया। इसके बीच में एक चीज़ था कि मैं जब भी मतलब बेड पे रहता था शाम को, तो मेरे साथ में आसपास में और भी रहते थे तो बच्चे, लेकिन सुबह होते होते एक का बेड हो जाता था खाली। इतना समझ में आता था वो शायद दूसरी जगह पर शिफ्ट हो गया या तो दुनिया से तो चला गया, लेकिन वो बात किसी से तो पूछ नहीं पाता था, किसी से तो बोल नहीं उस समय नहीं पाता था। पूरे ट्रीटमेंट के तो समय पर कोई बंदा ऐसा आकर के मुझसे तो मिला नहीं जो बोला हो कि मैं ठीक हुआ हूँ इस बीमारी से, कि मेरे अंदर ये चीज़ सिर्फ थी कि मैं ठीक होऊंगा, मैं ठीक होऊंगा, मैं ठीक होऊंगा, मैं ठीक होऊंगा। एक छोटा सा तो गाना लोग गुनगुनाते हैं, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन, वो हमारे दिमाग में हमेशा था। और फिर फाइनली हो गया सारी चीज़ें, बहुत अच्छा रहा और एक्सपीरियंस अच्छा रहा। गांव में अगर डॉक्टर लोग ज़्यादा घुमाए ना होते तो शायद पूरी बोन भी ना मतलब निकाली पड़ी होती, तो वो एक चीज़ था। और उसके अलावा ट्रीटमेंट सब बहुत अच्छे से गया। डॉक्टर लोग का तो सपोर्ट मिला, और तो नर्सिंग का तो एक मतलब सपोर्ट मिला। सोशल सपोर्ट टीम जो मतलब फाइनेंशियल कंडीशन मेरे पापा की ऐसी नहीं थी कि हमारा पूरा तो ट्रीटमेंट 2007 में जो टोटल खर्चा 4.5 लाख के आसपास गया था, सर्जरी सब कुछ जोड़ करके। बहुत सारी जगह पर गए, बहुत सारी जगह से हेल्प मिला, तो NGO से तो संस्थाओं से तो गवर्नमेंट से और हॉस्पिटल से, जिसकी वजह से सारी चीज़ें हो पाया और मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हो पाया।
थैंक यू संदीप। यहाँ तक आके हमसे ये अपनी पूरी एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। So I would like you to think back on this much of his experience that he shared, and he took it in the this natural sense of humor and his style of accepting situations. But can some of you bring out some of those experiences which he lightly mentioned, which could be improved if the team that we are, as human being doctors, which are the areas that he mentioned which could have been improved from our side? Please.
Firstly, the main problem which we are facing now is primarily in home. The major problem we are facing is the late diagnosis. People, majorly what I have heard, reach the hospitals on very critical stage, or the stage when the doctor said, okay, you don't have many years left. Because the disease itself is like that, if you have minor symptoms, the family ignores it, or says कि अच्छा कुछ नहीं हुआ है ज़्यादा, ठीक हो जाएगा. They give their home medications, they consult a quack, or then they try to consult a family doctor or a village doctor. The problem is much more in the rural areas, who don't have the scientific knowledge कि ऐसी चीजें भी होती हैं. इसको इस एक्सटेंट तक ट्रीटमेंट मिलना चाहिए. और and second problem which I feel is not related to But like, I have felt this and I have experienced it. One of my friend's mother last year died of cancer of large intestine. Like, she was suffering from it from past 3 to 4 years, or like 5 years or something. She wasn't living with her. She shifted to Bangalore to live with her own family, became my relative. But when she was, the doctor had confirmed that she's not gonna survive. But still, she was on treatment, chemotherapies, radiations for 6 months or for a year or so. This thing that I don't understand, like when the doctor knows the patient isn't gonna survive, and why to drain the financial condition of the family?
What's your name? Shirish. I mean, at the first MBBS, I think this excellent maturity to detect the two diseased ends of our healthcare. I'm scared to call it service anymore. It used to be a healthcare service and now it is healthcare industry. So you touched upon very important spectrum, the ends. One is late diagnosis and the other is futile interventions to even when you know that this is not going to make
They
us.
still give hope till the last day, like you know that she's gonna die tomorrow.
Yes.
And still they say the family members, okay, she's gonna survive. And still they say the patient that, okay, you can talk to your daughter today. And you can say like, I am going to survive tomorrow. And if she is dead tomorrow, what will go like, उनके क्या करेंगे जिसको लगा था कि कल survive करेंगे.
Yes.
उन्होंने उसमें इतना invest किया. They like the whole financial condition is dead, and the next day mother is dead. Like how will the daughter go through?
Yes. So the point about late diagnosis is absolutely real. Most of the, thank you, you may sit down. So most of the funding for any disease goes again into buying machines, buying, for the curative part, whether it is kidney failure or, anything you see when there is an intervention, people will invest. But what about screening? What about early diagnosis? Not much of investment is done by any of the, systems, either government or private sector, in screening and early detection. It could be, see, for example, kidney disease. Kidney disease is something, most of the kidney diseases in India are due to uncontrolled diabetes and hypertension. Both of them have very easy, ways of detection, and they are very simple, low-cost ways of control, correct? Some medications and some regular monitoring. But there are no programs which are going on to test. Pardon me? Yeah, and even when, like, see, even we as doctors, we can also, do our little bit. For example, a patient comes with 2 relatives. It is simple for us to take the BP of those 2 relatives also, so that we, at least that much we have contributed, no? So, simple things we can do even to, help in this. So these and CKD patients in India, like 3 lakhs. That is the government estimate, and that too only from the hospitals. And so many don't even reach hospitals, and we don't even know really how many CKD patients, chronic kidney disease they are called, okay? So, and so they are detected, as he said, almost when they are, having a very poor kidney function, and then the only options are dialysis and renal transplant, both of them excruciatingly costly for the patient and family. And then you have to continue that to stay alive. So, and even the discussions don't happen. So, having said that, even in cancer, or like even in Tata, when you see the statistics, about 75 to 80% of the patients who reach Tata are already having a metastasized disease. That means they're no longer curable stage. Sandeep is very lucky that it happened at least in the stage where he could get a complete removal of the whole thing. But most patients they reach. But the entire focus of all that you learn about oncology will be on the treatment. You will not be able to, you will not be taught how to detect. Maybe you will be. This generation may have a different training because we are all working towards it. So even as a general practitioner or as a physician, MD physician, you don't have to be an oncologist to detect patients, in the early stages, which are the commonest cancers we can learn. So that is a very important aspect for any disease. Cancer happened to be, spoken here. That does not mean that other diseases are less important, but it has everything very, very evident. That is why it becomes an easier example to discuss. The second end of the spectrum is about unnecessary futile interventions purely because of our inhibition in communications. Because it's so much easier to tell something about what next to be done because something needs to be done. It is so much more difficult to say that we have reached this stage and let us talk more about how to take this forward. These are the options available, but the pros and cons are this. Pros and cons of not doing are this. Other options are this. It takes too much of. Another thing is we are not trained in communication skills. Some of us naturally have it, or we happen to be trained under a doctor who has excellent communication skills. So we automatically learn from our lecturers or professors. If they don't have it, we think this is the way to treat patients. So hey, Javid, room number 30, something like that. So it is very, very essential that these aspects are brought into our training so that we become, and it's a trainable skill. Breaking bad news, talking about prognosis, letting the patient communicate what are their priorities. All these are trainable skills, and there is a systematic way of breaking bad news and discussing these things. And I hope that at some point in your senior years in MBBS, you will have role play sessions on how to communicate with the patient, simple as well as in an advanced stage. So thank you so much, Shirish, for bringing out two important spectra of healthcare which are diseased currently, but you all are going to correct it. Okay? Any other question, please? Go.
So one fact that I wish to highlight was when the surgeon asked him, "Tum bahut smile kar rahe ho?" So he said that, "Aap bhi hai now." So that is something, the trust he had in and the faith he had in the doctor. Maybe that is lacking today because of the money-minded things that have crept in this profession. And I don't know how to say, but there is no way we can correct it. Yes, we do have some financial things that we do have to care for our family. We do have to make money because we have learned something and we do have some financial responsibilities as well. But that empathy, that sympathy, all those big words, that really has to be fostered within us. I don't know how to get into that, but yeah, that is something, the trust that used to be there in that profession has to be brought back in.
This is an excellent point that you brought up. Have you heard the word informed consent? Okay, so informed consent is explaining what is going to happen to the person. For example, some surgery needs to be done. So you're supposed to explain, help the person understand what is going to happen, let them have the time to think about it, ask you for clarifications and doubts, and after that again give them time to discuss with the family, and then they come back. And what all is written in that informed consent? That you are likely to lose this limb, or you're likely to go on ventilator, ICU, or you may die on table. Even that is written. And still, have you ever seen a patient and family not signing it? Why do they sign it? It is a bond of trust. It is nothing. We look at it as a piece of paper which will keep us safe later on if there is a problem. But we need to understand it is much more than consent to do something. It is based entirely on the fact that we as doctors will do everything in their best interest. So it is, although we have taken consent for death on table, it does not mean that we are going to work towards it, right? So what you are talking about as trust is there in the system, but we have not activated it to the extent. And I think this kind of lectures, right from your formative years as doctors, is what is required. So now, when you see a patient, you will remember Sandeep, you will remember Ganpati, you will see, those unasked questions in their eyes. Like for example, you should know that a 10-year-old, he was 10-year-old when he was diagnosed, a 10-year-old has noticed that the father's eyes are moist and he is sad. Okay, and the 10-year-old is able to understand the difference between a cancer and a non-cancer. Oh, okay, that is so he, all those things which he mentioned, we need to understand, and the pricks that he mentioned, the injection, each time they prick, why is it necessary in today's, not even today, when he had his surgery, whenever he was admitted was in 2006 and 7 and 8, we have, ways of anesthetizing the skin before you insert these, because you require at least, thick cannulae for, good drugs to go in, 18 or 16 gauge cannulae which are really thick to go into the vein, otherwise it gets blocked. So there are ways of numbing. It's called, there are patches which are available, or you can take a small syringe and give a little simple thing. Only thing you have to wait for 2 minutes for it to act. So these things, if we are conscious that this person is going through pain, a child having 4 or 5 pricks to get a vein, we can avoid it. So there are so many things which he said, which we can add value and change the picture. He can go, a patient can go through a better experience just by us being a little more thoughtful.
Patients have trust and so they sign on the paper. I don't think it's just because of trust, it is just because they don't have any other option.
So he brings up the point that without any option, they have the option of not undergoing the surgery. But the thing is, they sign along with a prayer maybe when they don't trust the whole system. They pray that I hope everything goes well. We need to acknowledge the hope also. What I'm saying is there are all kinds of doctors. There are dukandars also as doctors, and there are doctors who do it in the noble way. Otherwise this field will not survive unless there are such doctors. If that everybody is dukandar, the entire society will shun the entire healthcare system, right? So we need to remember that there is always a section of doctors who are trying to do the appropriate things in the appropriate way. So either it is trust or it is hope. Both of them are important for us to understand, identify and acknowledge. Only then we can do our best. We have to decide which category we want to belong to. You will see doctors who will do all kinds of practices while you are learning. You will see that this is something that I want to follow and this is something I will never do. So while you are learning what needs to be done to become a doctor, a good doctor, you should also learn from your seniors some practices which you will never ever do. So it is all based on what you choose to become. You can choose to become any type of doctor. Please.
Firstly, I consider myself very inexperienced to highlight anything. But still, in Sandeep sir's experience that he has narrated, I felt that there was missing communication at various stages of his experience. Like the fact that what disease he had was broken out by just another fellow patient was, I don't know how to take it. It was so shocking for me. And I don't know, he had such an amazing attitude and such a positive attitude that he could take it this way. But a person that he would never actually take it that way, someone, just a fellow patient suddenly told me such a big thing. So I felt either at the first, like in Gorakhpur maybe, his father should have been counseled on how he should tell his son about his condition. Or when he went to those several OPD visits, I don't know how the doctor never spoke about it. Maybe I'm not a doctor yet and I don't know what happens at those levels, but I think this is what we should focus on.
जी, जैसा आपने ये तो बोला कि मतलब ये जो बात सुनी इसलिए कि तो कैंसर जिसको होता है वो मतलब वही लोग आते हैं हॉस्पिटल में, तो ऐसा ही कुछ बोलेंगे। एक्चुअली मेरी स्थिति क्या थी,
ऊपर पूछ रही थी, आपको सडनली एक आपके पास में जो बैठे थे उनसे पता चला कि शायद आपको कैंसर है, उसको आपको क्या लगा?
मैं उस समय बस सोच में था, सोच में तो पड़ गया कि ये कैंसर क्या है, क्या होता है, क्योंकि मुझको जानकारी ही इसके बारे में नहीं थी कि कैंसर से मर जाते हैं लोग या तो बीमारी बढ़ गई तो ठीक नहीं होते हैं लोग, ऐसा कुछ भी जानकारी नहीं था। सिर्फ कैंसर एक नया चीज शब्द हमको सुनने को मिला, जो चीज़ें फिर शाम को मैंने आपस से पूछा।
So he didn't have knowledge about the implications of cancer, that is why he did not respond. But as you say, this pediatric age groups, often they are assumed not to understand what is going on. But at the age of, there are age-specific communications which are relevant to pediatric diseases, and there is the doctors should know what level of communication should be given. Most of us, even adults, we always talk about patients. We don't talk to the patient, which is a huge gap. So you are perfectly right, and you are keeping on apologizing for what you said, but you have the right attitude to be a great doctor, because this is what is the sensitivity you have to maintain. It is very tough to maintain this first MBBS sensitivity and the reason for which you want to become doctor. Please maintain it all through. And what you're saying is right. This communication needs should have been addressed at some point of time, and there are ways of communicating with even a child of 10-year-old is the level at which they understand and appreciate. And that makes the entire experience also different. Okay, so this is a very important one. And communication skills, I hope at some point of your training it will come up, and all of you will be equipped with a system of, especially breaking bad, like telling that someone has a cancer is breaking bad news. That has got 6 steps to it. So we will, have a conversation on that, and we'll have role plays, etc. And second thing is about prognosis later. For example, something like paraplegia. Patient, usually it's a youngster with a motorcycle accident, or someone fell from a tree or something, and they are in their 20s, and they can have a normal lifespan if given the adequate support. See here again, disease modifying therapy, sometimes it can reverse the paraplegia, but very often it does not, or the spinal cord if it is totally damaged. But still, they can have a good quality of life with, they can be prevented from, what are the causes of death in paraplegia? Infection. So can we prevent infections by, adequate training and support to the patient and family? Yes. They can be mobilized in the sense there are ways today we can help them do things themselves. Then can they be economically self-sufficient? All of us, actually speaking, all of us hardly move. Everything we do from waist upwards. So all those things that we can do, computer or music or so many professions exist, where they can also, be having a normal economic life. But all this has to be done within our, we need to think about it. Even he talked about some funding that helped him complete his treatment. So as doctors, why should I bother about, what are the NGOs available in this? Suppose you're practicing somewhere. It will be important. You don't have to really go and get that list of NGOs or, communities welfare programs, but you can have a team member, someone who is, volunteering their time or something, so that you have that access to that system, or you can just link up with an NGO. So if we keep thinking that my job is to do with the parts of the body, you will miss out all these aspects which make completion of a treatment possible and the disease experience to become better. So I am so glad that you are bringing up these questions.
My question is that we're talking mainly about cancer and but somewhere like in Tata Hospital, where I have seen like many from my family have come there, maybe they are on the last stage of cancer. At that stage, what they realized in the hospital was that the number of patients is very huge and the number of doctors is very less. At that point of time, what should a doctor do? If he has to address so many patients and then he has to look at the care that has to be given. So what must be the priority? Because some patients just don't get a chance to be the doctor and on the beds they die. This is what I've seen earlier in the
So your point is very well taken, that the doctors are busy because of so many patients to attend, and how can they address all the aspects of care when they have to focus on, the curative aspects of it. Excellent question. Now, I'll just give you an example which is not related to cancer. We have, I am qualified MD MBBS from Nair Hospital in Mumbai. And we had ENT hospital in VT area as our peripheral posting during our training. So ENT hospital has about 100 to 150 patients coming per day, and you can imagine the rush over there. And one family will come, husband, wife, and say 2 kids, क्या problem है? कान बहता है. आपका, so all the entire 3-4 people will have कान बहता है. So then you look into the throat. And then you will see huge tonsils, and then we say गले का operation करना पड़ेगा. But doctor साहब, गले का operation क्यों? कान बहता है, So it's a very correct question to ask. And we cannot, because the next patient, and the next patient, they will all be having कान बहता है, because that is the commonest reason they come to the ENT hospital. And there are 100. So what was done was, there was a handicapped person called Govind. He was employed with a model of the mouth, the eustachian tube, and the ear and everything. So he will sit with that model, and as soon as about 25-30 patients accumulate with this question, they will be made to sit in one place, and Govind, he would explain. This is why gale ka infection can give rise to chronic otitis media, which is the infection of the middle ear. So, as what we would do, Govind, then first show, there will be few shows, So then this patient will go and wait. At the end of that discussion with Govind, when that discussion of all these questions are handled, he will be standing at the other end of the room. Doctor Saab, then he say, ho gaya? Sab theek hai? Sab theek hai. So we have not invested any of our time, but we have supported a system whereby they get their information. So until we are sensitive to it, this will not happen. So what we are trying to do by this class is not asking you to do each and every step of what is needed. Like what Ganpati is not a doctor. So he has been invited into Tata Memorial to help patients, correct? Sandeep is not a doctor, but he interacts with children with cancer to give them that support and inspiration. He works for CanKids as a so his experience makes more meaning to them than me talking a big lecture on what it is, right? Because I am healthy from their point of view. They are unhealthy. They will listen to someone who has gone through the same experience. So our job is to register that prescription writing is not our final role. Our role is also to facilitate all the care components in wherever we practice. You may become a gynecologist, you may become urologist or general practitioner or a physician, whatever you, surgeon. But anywhere you go, you have to see these gaps. For that, only the mind which knows will see the gaps. And then you will create a system. And you can do it with volunteers, you can do it with anyone. You don't have to spend your time, but you have to lead it. Always a doctor is the leader in a clinic. So that is why this discussion is here. Okay, thanks.
There are two types of doctors, one who are very rich and have very busy schedule, and others don't have patience at all. So sometimes some people prefer these doctors that they'll communicate with us and give lots of time. But what I experienced is that I went to such a doctor, like 2-3 doctors, and what they do is they try to make a long-lasting patient. Like they will tell you that आज आपका treatment है, आपको next time आना है. So what I asked them कि इस time में क्या करना है? Then he said that आप treatment चालू करो, आप पहले fees register करो, फिर मैं आपको सब बताऊँगा. So it's like they have lots of time, but they want to make money. And the thing is that I don't know why such people have been produced. Like there are many doctors who have so many patients, but then what to do about these doctors who don't get patients, and what are the things they lack? Like what should be developed so that like there is so much of inequality and there is not proper distribution. So what can be done?
So some of the doctors who don't have patients maybe because of a reason, which I don't think we need to discuss right now. But the question that you're bringing up is a matter of ethics, ethical practice. So how to look at any patient care from the ethical perspective. Again, I will really not take time to explain because we are going to probably have a class, and I think you are going to go through several modules of ethics of, because what you are talking about is unethical practices, which are not part of, the profession which is supposed to be having a noble connotation. So just to arrest the patient to yourself, some of the doctors, they don't give the investigation results. They will keep the X-ray, everything pending with them. And then the hospitals have these practices so that you cannot go to another place because you have to go through all the investigations again. So these practices exist, but it is again, we cannot, our regulatory bodies, the Medical Council of India and the Indian Medical Association, there are lots of bodies, they are not powerful enough to take care of these malpractices or other deviations of practice. All that we can do is inculcate a culture where we know what is the right or appropriate thing to do and learn from these doctors what not to be done. That's all I can say. Otherwise, there is not enough of organized system because in India, especially, I'll tell you one more thing, that 24% of India's healthcare comes under the government sector, like KEM and other under the government. 86%, I think 76%, sorry, they come under private sector and they are completely unregulated. So the cost of an X-ray may range from 75 rupees to 1,000 something. And Clinical Establishment Act exists in paper, but it is not really it doesn't have any what do you call sword. It is just having a crown. So these are all to be answered later in policy and all. But your question is the answer. The only thing is that we begin with ourselves.
With having the communication between a patient and doctor, there must be communication between the doctors at different levels. Because if a person from rural area comes goes to the doctor and if he is providing the treatment but the symptoms are not getting better, okay, so if the person is not getting better, so that is the responsibility of that doctor to consult with higher doctors and as fast as the better treatment is possible, that person should be.
So this also requires, bridges to be created between the different centers. I'll just give you one example which is active right now. So there is a website, again, unfortunately I'm giving examples of cancer-related diseases. So there is a website of Tata Memorial which has a section called Navya, N-A-V-Y-A. So Navya is a place where, suppose he is from, that place in UP, the doctor can feed in his reports and everything, and everything can be done online, and within 24 to maximum 48 hours, there is a panel of oncologists who will go through that particular patient's data and give an opinion, what would be the appropriate thing to do. So this is something which has been done in a systematic manner right now, and it has just started about not even 1 year, I think now. It's almost 1 year. But it's such a wonderful thing. Now actually it was meant for people from India. Now all over the globe people are feeding in patient data to understand what needs to be done, because they trust the Indian medical system. India is an important medical tourist center also for people to come and do. But this is a beginning. This can be done for any of the systemic illnesses. If the doctors organize and they create something like this and they are willing to give their time to work as panels, because there's a pathologist involved to understand the biopsy, then there is a medical oncologist. So they have to also organize to form teams like that. So what you are saying is perfectly right. These things should happen. Work on it.
ट्रीटमेंट जब भी मेरा कंप्लीट हो गया था, उसके बीच में जब भी मेरा चल रहा था, उस समय मेरे गांव वाले वो लोग मेरे मम्मी के पास हमेशा आते थे और बोलते थे कि तुम्हारा बेटा मुंबई तो गया है लेकिन जिंदा वापस नहीं आएगा। ये बात बोल बोल करके उसकी ऐसी हाल हो गई थी कि जैसे कीमोथेरेपी हमको लग रहा हो और साइड इफेक्ट उसका सारा मम्मी को हो रहा हो। ऐसी बुरी हालत थी और उस समय सिर्फ मेरी एक ही सोच बनी थी कि मैं इसे ठीक होने के बाद में जो बाकी दूसरे पेशेंट हैं उनके लिए आगे चल करके काम करूँगा। वो सोच थी, उम्र छोटा था, किस तरह से जा करके करूँगा नहीं पता था। 2015 से फाइनली मैं मुंबई में हूँ और यहाँ पर टाटा हॉस्पिटल, वाडिया हॉस्पिटल, साइन हॉस्पिटल, नायर हॉस्पिटल, KEM हॉस्पिटल, सुमैया हॉस्पिटल और सुश्रुत ढेर सारे हॉस्पिटल में जो भी कंसर्न पेशेंट आते हैं उनको फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट दिलाना, गाइडेंस करना और तो नेविगेट करना कहाँ पर बेस्ट उनको ट्रीटमेंट मिल सकता है और तो सुविधाएं उनको तो मिल सकती है। वो सारी चीज़ें मैं 2015 से तो देख रहा हूँ, कर रहा हूँ। इसके साथ साथ सर्वाइवल सपोर्ट ग्रुप देख रहा हूँ जिसमें 109 लोग मेरे जैसे हो चुके हैं। 13 साल के ज़्यादा उम्र वाले जिनको बचपन में कैंसर हुआ था जो बिल्कुल ठीक हो चुके हैं, उनको तो सपोर्ट दिलाना, एजुकेशन, मोटिवेशन और फिर उसके बाद मैं तो जॉब हो रही है, सारी चीज़ें छोटा सा काम देता हूँ। थैंक यू सो मच।
I hope this is the beginning of many lectures which will, create a holistic way of approaching patients, and you will have plenty more opportunities throughout your different subjects. This is just one of them, and hope to see you all again as you grow across the MBBS years. All the best. Grow up to be a great doctor. Thank you. Do you know what does doctor mean? One who educates. Yes, the one who educates others, okay? So, you understand how communication is the main job that we are supposed to do when we call ourselves doctors. All the best. Bye.